Hey guys, we have our second episode of Art of the Float for the new year. Excited to share this one with you. We are going over news, trends, tidbits from around the industry, sharing what's going on at our centers. Lots of good little things in here to little grab bag of information and news tonight. Excited to try out this new format that hopefully, if it works out, we'll do a few times a year here. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Helmbot, of course. We love Helmbot at the Float Shop, and something they introduced recently is adding a cap to memberships. So if you want a limited type of membership, whether that's for financial reasons on your end or if it's to create a little FOMO, a little fear of missing out, then you can create those memberships now in your member settings. So check it out. Grab life by the helm. Okay, that's not actually their tagline, but anyways, maybe we should start the show now. Welcome back to another episode of Art of the Float, where float centers thrive. My name is Dylan. I own the Float Shop in Portland, Oregon, with my beautiful and intelligent wife, Sandra.
Hey everybody, it's Kim Hannon, and I own Tsukino Float Center in Salt Cave in Southern Indiana with my handsome husband, Graham, the other Graham.
And intelligent, right? Handsome, okay.
Handsome and intelligent. He can be both, definitely.
And
this is
talented.
Drew from New. Yes, he's agreed. This is Drew from New Hampshire Float, and I own New Hampshire Float with Drew from New Hampshire Float. He's beautiful and intelligent as well.
And hi, everyone. My name is Gloria. I own Float 60, and that's it.
All right. Well, today's episode is brought to us by a quote. Gloria?
Or four.
I've got one. I've got one. I don't know what's tighter, my jeans or our friendship.
Oh,
isn't that cute? I love
All right,
it.
let's see what your jeans look like right now, Gloria. Please stand up. Let's see.
I have a dirtier one. Do you want to? Do you want that one too?
Can I do two? If it's dirty and inspirational, yeah.
Okay, so the second one that I thought was a little bit racy for the pod, but I'm going to say it anyway. Friends are like condoms. They protect you when things get hard.
All right. I did enjoy it. It's good. It's good. Wow. Yeah. So guys, new year, new format, I guess. Welcome. Today is a really different type of episode that's going to become a more regular thing. At least we're testing it out. We'll see. And it also means that we're bringing in a new regular guest who we have talked about probably 1,000 times on the show, and is... I'm not sure if you've been on the podcast before. I'm just going to cut this bit here. Welcome to the podcast, Olga.
Thanks, guys. I think I have been on one show before.
Olga, you are... can you tell a little bit about your business before we get started, and then we'll talk about the format of tonight's episode?
Sure. I am Olga. I own a float center called Zephyr Float in Kingston, New York with my, hunky husband, Ryan.
Intelligent or not?
What is your intelligent?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Okay. Dropping the intelligent
very
on the
capable.
husbands. Okay, all right.
I think it's a wrap.
We call this a beta test. Where this is a rough draft of an episode that you happen to be listening to with actual advertisers. So tonight we're going to go through new segments. This is tentatively called the Salty Spot, where we're going to just hear about different news updates and I guess like a little bit more personal updates from people around the float industry and just stay abreast of what's going on with our community here. And Olga is coming in delivering those new segments for us. So I'm pretty excited about this.
Me too. It is a very tight community, and I think bringing it to the air is going to make it that much more obvious.
Yay. What's up first, Olga?
Well, I think we should talk about the post that Max Casa posted. Let's see, it must have been a week or two ago now, where he was talking about the effects of magnesium chloride and how he's been adding that to his tanks and the effects that they've been having.
Yeah, I definitely found that one interesting. And my first thing, well, actually, I should let Gloria take this because she's the one who says, where's the data? Where are the numbers? Let me see it. And that was the
It's
first
funny that you
thing.
said that was going to be my first question.
I shouldn't
but
have stepped on.
I didn't actually read the post, so I feel a little bit lost, which is probably good because I have an objective set of ears. So what was the gist of it?
The gist of it, that he was saying that he was adding 2 bags of magnesium chloride, and I don't think he referred to how big these bags were.
I was going to ask.
But I think Kim was saying
He said he
that
used,
they were,
in his video, he said that he used a 9-to-1 ratio. So 9 parts mag sulfate, Epsom salt, and 1 part mag chloride. So,
and we found that it's interesting because, for years there's been this like ambiguity about how much actual absorption, transdermal absorption, people get from floating of magnesium. And some people claim that, you absorb, no problem, but we don't actually have any studies to prove it.
Yeah, it seems to be something that's really difficult to measure, which is really unfortunate because anecdotally, I feel like we all have amazing stories about floating in Epsom salt and where there's a welt from a soccer game on your ankle going down during it. Or I'm really curious how it contributes to sleep because it doesn't seem to matter when I float, I sleep so deep that night. Do we all agree that anecdotally?
Oh,
Sure.
for sure. For
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
back to the news post, though. Again, I haven't seen it. So can you just kind of help me understand, did he claim something related to the chloride that he backed up with any data? Because that is...
I don't think he has measured anything as far as what they're absorbing, but he did have a couple citations of the benefits and of one research showing people who sprayed, I think it was their arms and legs twice a day with magnesium chloride. So they're not measuring blood, they're not measuring urine or something to see if the body is absorbing it, but... So it's not anecdotal. What kind of study is that called? Where basically they're on a chart and they're showing their pain levels. Fibromyalgia sufferers are showing a reduction in pain, and it had I should have this up in front of me. I think it was 95% of that study group saw benefits. So it was very positive.
So he's not selling this in any way, right? Is this attached?
He is.
I don't know
Yeah,
what he's...
no,
I don't
I
know
just wanna
him. Can you
mention
guys
that
back up? Yeah, and tell me who he is, because I don't know.
He actually does have a company called Max Vitality where he does sell these magnesium chloride bags. But I thought it was still interesting to mention that, that this could be another way that we could add to our tanks without actually disturbing like the
Precious
neutral
chemistry of
environment. Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
The neutral
Yeah,
environment
because-
that we provide that doesn't have any sense,
it's been
Sorry.
such a huge debate, across the community for so long about whether or not magnesium sulfate is absorbed or not. Scientifically, we haven't had anything to back up any claims, but, like Dylan was saying, anecdotally, tons of people are saying, how they feel like they have been absorbing, and it's really helped, with all of the different benefits of magnesium absorption. Sorry, I can't speak tonight.
He definitely managed to stir up the pot. But one thing that I thought was interesting that there was a lot of comments on it, and Ted Whaler, who's always kind of like also the show me the data guy, he seemed to be, satisfied. And I was like, oh, that's a feat in itself.
Yeah, agreed.
Interesting.
That's like the one comment I saw, and I was also impressed. That's funny you referenced that. I didn't realize, were there a lot of comments? Was it controversial?
It's at 99 comments at the moment.
Ay, Dios mío. Okay.
Yeah.
So his website,
Go ahead.
I just Googled it. It says these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But earlier, at the beginning of the page, there are quite a number of implications of, taking this. So I'm just wondering, what is his background? Did he have a medical background or anything? Who is he?
I don't believe so, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes.
But there was definitely some discussion around that point that, Gloria, I think we had a couple of folks who were in the medical field, nurses and whatnot, saying, they would be concerned about people absorbing this mag chloride if they don't have adequate potassium levels. And so that could be something that could be a big risk. And I think that alone would be something to really understand, you know, and if you don't know your own mineral levels and all of those sorts of things, then there could potentially be some danger in it. I don't know. It's such a neat concept.
Please, everybody, don't rush to dump this into your tanks.
Yeah, so if I can, I'll give my 2 cents here that no one asked for, but I'll give it anyway. No.
Yeah, what are you doing here? Giving your 2 cents.
Quiet. I'm just
Who's the guy with the microphone?
Yeah. So I kind of know Max. I don't know his background as far as this stuff goes, but when it comes to the tanks, first of all, I don't want to add anything else to my tanks personally. I'm at like as little as I have to add to keep it clear. I like to add, right? The more you play with those tanks, the more problems you have. I don't know what the background is of all this stuff. I don't know much about it. I know that I'm not really interested in adding new stuff to my tanks for all those purposes. And, you know, I'm trying to simplify my processes, not add to them. Yeah. And having staff, as I'm, you know, already having issues, right? I don't want another thing to have to worry about is staff doing it properly. But maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's a new thing that can be helpful and mixed in. As I was just kind of briefly, that was also what I was doing, was kind of thumbing through some of the comments. There were other concerns that people should definitely be aware of, to include some like equipment issues that can come along potentially with using bicarbonate, apparently, and I don't know any of this stuff. I'm not interested in knowing any of this stuff. Give me the Epsom salt, give me the water, give me a little hydrogen peroxide, and that's all I hope to have to do to my tanks, right?
Well, speaking of tanks, he also sells float tanks, I see.
Okay.
So this is definitely a business,
Sure.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like to have objective content where I can kind of check and balance and verify. So I think we as owners in the industry, we want everybody that's in the industry to be successful, right?
Of course.
Like,
Definitely.
I think our community is unique in that regard, that we really do want to support each other, because if there's false claims or if there's poor quality in delivery, if you make tanks or, you know, sell any product, it's going to impact all of us and our reputation. So I want to believe, I know nothing, but I want to believe that this is really, there's some validity to it. But I think our industry is really, really smart, and I'm glad that there's all these comments. I'm going to go back and look at it soon. But yeah, I don't know anything about it, which makes me nervous, because we've been in the industry so long, and I've not seen these float tanks before. They kind of look like the ones from Royal Float Spa. So is he like a distributor for them? Does anybody know?
Or is he making his own?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
they look exactly
the pod, it looks like a Royal Float Spa. So it could be like a private label thing, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know the relationship.
Because I own a Royal Float Spa pod, and it looks very similar. So, I mean, I'm just
something
curious
to keep an
about
eye
that.
on, you know?
Yeah,
Right?
It's definitely
absolutely
interesting news.
So like I do think you know, if it's not an expert or, you know, a researcher coming out and talking about it, like it is okay. Like the, what is it, photobiomodulation guy, the red Thor laser. They you know, I was intrigued enough to do more research. You know, like I thought he had a leg to stand on, so that it was like, okay, this guy sounds legitimate enough that it is worth considering.
Wow.
And I think that's what somebody has to do when they come in as a business, is go, look at all of what I have to show you that this is working. And if the research isn't there, whether they're taking the information, whatever it is, presenting it forward so that it's a convincing argument. And so that's what I'll be waiting for from Max, is the convincing argument to put this in your float tank. And how is that going to be better than what we're using already is going to be the big thing. Because like Drew says, like, we've got our float tanks dialed just well enough that it's like, okay, great. We can run a float center successfully. But if he can say, if you add 2 bags of this every 2 weeks or for whatever the amount of time is, your fibromyalgia sufferers are going to have a reduction in their pain for a week or whatever it is, like, hell yeah, I'll put that in. That's good for business. It's what I want to do for people. Like that checks all the boxes. But yeah, we have to be able to see that.
For
and
sure.
make sure we're not doing any harm.
Yeah. The
Exactly.
potassium thing, like, can you require somebody to eat a banana before getting into the float tank? That kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And
will
actually,
it-
he mentioned that they have a protocol that they use, and they have an adrenal elixir both pre and post float. So it's intentionally, for potassium levels. And that's the line
interesting.
where when we start, I'm nervous about that because it feels like we're prescribing things and we're stepping beyond our scope. We are not licensed health professionals. And when we get into that sort of thing, that's what makes me incredibly nervous when we're recommending specific things for people, not just making it available, but saying, here, take this before in order to do that. And there's just so much data.
I didn't read
don't
that
know.
part, which makes me nervous that you could be sold one thing, but then potentially doing harm. Sorry, I don't mean to. Oh, this is probably where we should put our. We're not lawyers, and
We're not medical providers. We're not experts on any of
Just
that.
We're just talking about a
the
thread in the
comments.
float clip.
Yes, exactly.
That's all.
Well-
We're all kind of going through it right
float.
now to give our initial reactions,
To his credit, and this is all real time. I'm seeing this for the first time. He's done a really good job curating various products. So he's obviously reselling. He's wholesaling a lot of products from certain lines. And so he's curating, certain nootropics and different adrenal products. He does a really good job with the marketing. He's in most of these shots. His products are really organized here on the website. So yeah, he basically sells salt, float tanks, and then a number of different products for those of you that aren't familiar. And it looks like he does coaching. And has he been to the conference? Why do I not know him? I feel completely in the dark.
I'm not sure.
Kim, you
Been to
know
at
all
least one
visitors
float
of the float conference, right? You can
I'm
just
like,
tell
I'm,
us.
I try.
I feel like I'm social enough to maybe have met him before, but I don't know. I'm kind of shy.
Yeah, and he's not the only one that sells, magnesium chloride.
Sure, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
It's because
Yeah.
other
Very good
people
point.
have mentioned that they have used it as well.
Oh,
So there
interesting.
are
in their
people
float tanks.
currently using it?
I think so. Yeah,
I think.
I don't have the thread in front of me right now, but
Maybe we can find
there's some.
someone who does that, because that sounds like a lot of work. The adrenal and worrying about people's things. And I worry enough as it is if people are being honest about, did you talk to your doctor? They'll ask me questions, right? You get the health questions all the time. Talk to your doctor. I can't tell you that it's right for you, right? Are people really doing that? Probably not.
I'm stressed out enough about people's hair color getting into the float tanks.
Same.
Let alone their
Same.
actual. Can I actually? Here's some not news you could use. Well, no, this is news you could use. What are your guys' protocols for dye? Just because I'm sorry, I know this is a news segment, but I've had two the same float tank go down twice because it just looks like poo poo. And I'm curious,
Actually,
is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? I don't trust them to say, the water's not coming out. I did a photo shoot with somebody who, she was like, oh yeah, the hair, it's not, there's no dye in the water anymore. She showered. I looked in the shower. I was like, it's red and orange on the floor. Why are you telling me? Come on, get out of here.
So interesting that you bring that up, though, Dylan, because that actually has been a trend that I've seen. I've heard from a couple of folks, and I've talked to a couple of my clients, and then we had a little scare at our center, but thankfully it was minor. We have a really unique situation, though, where part of our booking questions when we book an appointment includes the reminder about hair dye, spray tans, oils and chemical treatments for your hair and all of those sorts of things. And it is front and center every time. And it includes a reminder that if your hair dye comes out, there could be a charge for any damages, any salt replacements and canceled appointments. And we have that, that number there. So every time somebody books, whether it's their first time or their 100th time, they see that question every single time. So we rarely ever have any issues or any questions. People don't even make it through the door with hair dye concerns. We had one woman who was actually a friend of one of our team members who came in, and she, I guess, wore a swim cap, and she had little droplets on the ledge of our float cabin. And that was the closest we've ever come to a panic moment. But there was nothing in the water, nothing in the shower, but those little droplets there. So, yeah.
How about you, Drew? Do you have any?
Yeah, so this is funny that we're sidetracking onto this. I had a friend in the float world. I won't say who it is because I don't know that they want me to, but I got a real awful picture of blue stain all around a tank, and that person was trying to figure out how to remove it, and it was just panic town population. That person, it was just not a good scene, and it was bad. It was one of the worst I've ever seen. And for me personally, I've had it happen, I think, twice that it was a problem. And it's the only sign. We could post a picture, maybe, Dylan, if there's a way to post a picture with this, of my front desk. The front desk has one sign on it, and it is about hair coloring. It is right in the middle, and anyone who's new, we call ahead of time, at least 24 hours ahead of time, and specifically tell them about the hair, because I've had people come in, they have bright green hair, and I'm like, you can't float. I'm not letting you float. I will tell people absolutely not. If it's close, absolutely not. I now will let people, I'll be a little looser with it in the Aphelion tank, but if someone is booked with a cabin, I say, no, I'll let you do it with the Aphelion. And if it's really bad, I make them also have swim caps in the house. But I am a hawk for that. Okay. I bring it up to monthly people. We're constantly, and when I get pictures of other people's tanks, I show them to my staff and I say, look, we cannot have this happen.
Yeah.
This is a horrible situation. I would rather lose the person as a customer than have them do this to the tank, because I'm the one who will have to shut down for 3 days, lose all that income, work to get it out, if you can even get it out, which apparently sometimes you can't, right? And it's just stress that I don't want to deal with. And I will say, I've had 2 people cry because they showed up and I wouldn't let them float, and it was an absolutely horrible situation.
So
and I felt so sad. Yeah, I did. I felt so sad.
Should let them float, too.
But they understood. They understood, but they were feeling so bad. They really wanted, they came right because they weren't feeling well. And I'm like, no, you can't. And
I have a great idea. Max Vitality sells take-home salts. When we have this happen, you just sell them a bag of that and send them home.
Say,
nice.
Do it at home. I like that.
It's
We're
just
problem solvers here in Art of the Float.
I like
Olga,
that.
have we swayed from the topic, though?
This is great.
Okay.
This
still news.
is great.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I think it's news, too. I was
It
just thinking.
happens to everybody,
It's
right?
real.
Has it ever
It's
happened
real.
to you, Olga?
Actually, no, not once.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Well,
Quick.
so here's why, though, because our tanks are, they're home built. They have, by Jamie, who's also on this show. Remember Jamie Gagne? And he installed black liners. So if it has happened, it has happened. But we were able to get everything out. There's no staining. It just, all it requires is a filter change and a lot of filtering.
Do any of you own charcoal filters that you can put into your float tanks?
We run.
I love mine.
Some of my
Actually, we don't
tanks can take charcoal, some don't.
Yeah, we don't have the charcoal filters, but we have, vitamin C tabs on hand. We have the FSR Fiberglass Stain Remover that we keep. We've got a couple of products on hand just in case.
Okay.
There was something else
Can we
on
list
the
those in
Float
our
Collective.
show notes? Which,
please.
By the way, I dropped vitamin C in my float tank and it turned it brown. I was trying to clear. There was some green tinge to it, and it browned while it was in there. So that was a new one to me. That never. What's that?
Yeah,
you have heard of that?
I have heard of that happening, where it's basically some metals that are in your water and you get a chemical reaction from that. But I'm trying to remember what the solution was to that side effect, and I can't remember.
Speaking of solution,
when vitamin C browns
Hold on.
turns your tank brown.
Yeah.
So this is old, but this is in the Float Collective. And some guy named Colin posted this submersible utility pump, short, clean garden hose, new RV filter. So apparently he put this pump thing in overnight and it cleaned out all kinds of pink hair dye. Have you guys heard of that technique?
Was that my post? Is that?
No.
Okay, I have a post that every like once a year somebody comments on it. It goes back up to the top.
So you've done that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great, but it doesn't like if it's real bad. I'm trying to think of what the hair color was most recently. It took 2 days for it to clear up. What I'm curious about is if you can daisy chain those RV filters through each other. I own 2 sub pumps now so that I can more quickly, because it's not like a hose pressure of water going through. Like it really slows down the flow of the sub pump while it's filtering through. So to get an entire float tank clear, it takes a while.
There you are.
Hey, that's me.
I have, Dylan, it's like a GE carbon filter that is a couple of liters. I should send you a link. Maybe
Please
you can
do.
post that.
Yeah.
And I have a sump pump that's a 2,400 gallon an hour sump pump that has a small hose that's about 6 feet long attached to it. And I just put the 2 in. I try not to leave the sump pump flat so it doesn't heat up, a burn spot on the tank, but
Never thought of
it
that.
works wonders. And I can unspin the top and pull out the filter and see what it looks like. After I'm done with it, just to not leave water in it, I take it apart and then put it back together. But I love that filter. And anytime that's like my initial, I'll change the regular filter and throw that in if I have any water issues.
Okay.
It's great.
And I was just thinking about the vitamin C question. I thought the vitamin C was the solution because the metals in the water oxidize, and that's why it turns brown. And then you put vitamin C, and that's an antioxidant. I thought that's what makes it clear.
We need to have float tank solutions on the podcast to talk
Right.
water chemistry, and this is not my area of expertise.
This is why I try to prevent it coming in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Everybody
Seriously.
I do.
Good process.
I do recall that we did have another incident actually not terribly long ago. We lost a member, and she was one of our members who was floating weekly with us, but she had purple hair. And when she had first started, she would obviously have plenty of time, between her sessions because she was only floating once a month or so. And then she switched to the weekly float plan, and she was wearing swim caps. And then we noticed during one of her visits that the swim cap was stained, and we couldn't get the stain out of the swim cap. And so we had, we sent just a little reminder of like, hey, thanks for wearing the swim cap. Just want to let you know that it did stain it. We're going to replace that, no cost to you or anything, but please be mindful that if it stains again, or if it comes out in the tank, then there could be some significant charges, and we don't want that to happen. She ended up getting absolutely furious about it and canceled her membership. And we were like, well, okay.
Wow.
And that was a case where it was like, kind of stinks to lose somebody, but because of the huge risks, like Drew said,
You also want people to understand that it's very impactful to a small business.
Exactly.
With
Exactly.
limited capacity.
I saw a float center who they're fairly, newer in the industry, but they've been around a year and a half or so now. And they actually had somebody who came in, they let them float, and it stained their tanks. They had to drain everything, and they posted on social media saying like, hey, this is why we have this policy. We're not trying to call anybody out, but this is a big deal. And it really does hurt small businesses like ours when things like this happen. And the folks who commented on that post were so kind, so understanding. And it was beautiful. I loved seeing it. And it was actually around the same time. I think it was like a few days later, our member thing happened. And that was a moment that we were like, well, the same kind of, ours was not even a bad situation, and it turned out to be fine.
All right.
But it's such a tough spot. And even for my staff, I try to really empower them to tell people no. Like, it's really uncomfortable. It's tough to deal with. But the alternative is very, very stressful. Very stressful.
Yeah.
So it's something I don't go probably 2 weeks maybe without talking about hair and saying, and as I'm leaving, I'll say, don't forget, check people's hair. I'm like that's a problem I want to avoid. I had one really bad incident with it, and I will do as much as I can to avoid that happening again. And if you haven't had it happen, knock on wood and be careful.
Well, yeah, they're scared now if they haven't had it happen.
Yeah, they should be.
Let's move on to the next topic, where we have Aquaspa Float Center flooded a couple of months ago now. I think it was at the end of December, a nice little Christmas present. Maybe it was the beginning of January. And the owners actually were on the show earlier than that. So it was Tammy and Terry, who I believe were in the show in November, maybe October. And
Sounds right. Shortly beforehand.
yeah, they were the float center with many modalities, and so they talked to that. They had brought on their managers as well, and so that was a great episode. But we I think a lot of us followed their story, and they kept posting video updates, which I thought was great. One thing wasn't clear was what caused the flooding. Did anybody pick up on that? Or
it was
what happened?
something in the I can't remember. I knew then, but there were so many floods that happened around that same time because it was when that major cold snap hit all across the country, and there were pipes bursting all over the place. And so I know there were several float centers that had flooded. And Dylan, sorry to bring up that wound.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I will say the initial post led me to believe it wasn't a float tank issue. It sounded like a building issue.
Yeah, it was something in the building. And it may have been that their pipes burst, but it was a huge flood that affected their entire center, and they had to tear out walls. They had to, remediate just to make sure there was no mold. And then thankfully they have been rolling out over the past few weeks and opening services and slowly working their way back to having everything operational again. But I have to say, when they were on the show, you could just tell how loving and caring they were towards each other, towards their community. And they were the same way through the whole flood incident. It was just amazing to hear just such gentle kindness, as they were giving the updates. And it was a thing that is very stressful, I imagine. But they were just so gracious about it all, saying, we're working hard to get this place, to get your sanctuary back for you. And we can't wait to welcome you back. And we're working hard to make sure that it happens. And they just did such a great job of handling, how they were reporting that news and how they were sharing, the updates and the good news along with the bad about it all.
Yeah. We're sending you love.
Yeah. Love from all of us. Yeah.
Just incredible awe in how you guys handled it. So I hope you guys are back and running.
Can I ask?
Love to Float Alchemy too. Amy, who used to be one of our co-hosts here, Float Alchemy also had a flood, but theirs was not from the same cold snap. They had an unrelated, for some reason, the business, flooded, their building flooded, and they had to also shut down. There are many modalities, and thankfully they're back up and running now. Theirs didn't end up taking as long as what Aquaspa has been experiencing, but love goes out to Amy and Mark from Float Alchemy too, and getting everything back up to speed there. So.
Absolutely. We love you guys. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Kim, how is your business doing?
Yeah, it's good. We've had many floods.
Yeah. You had one recently too, right?
Yeah. We, did I have one? Here's the thing, you guys, we've had so many that I honestly cannot keep track of all of those. We've had little leaks, but knock on wood, lately, there hasn't been any major flooding. We finally got, I think there was some kind of a clog somewhere in the city drainage system that goes under our building. And we finally got that taken care of. And so, knock on wood, I think that part is gone. We haven't had any panic moments, but we do. We have water alarms that are sitting right by our front door. If you ever come to my center, you're going to see these teeny tiny little things right by the doors. And that's so that if water comes in, we get an alert immediately. And it sends us an email. We get an alert on our apps. So that was kind of a big necessity for us. But I think
you can have it
send
an alert to your app. That's so good.
Yeah.
I might put some behind my float tank.
It's amazing. They're just cheap little things. I will say that sometimes the team forgets to pick them up when they're mopping and occasionally accidentally spray them. And then there's this whole panic because it's an alarm. It's an alarm and it is loud. And they start texting us, I'm trying to get it shut off. So don't spray them. Yeah.
I just want to say we have a wall being built. We have studs up in our float shop. So progress has been made from our flood so that we can have our fourth float tank back open and completely be rebuilt. But, and Olga, I don't mean to take your job here, but Kim, you're talking about sensors at your door for moisture that you would see if you walked in, if we were able to see your center. When would we ever be able to see your float
master
center?
of transition?
Maybe I don't know. Are you guys free sometime in August? Like, I don't know.
There's a float
August?
conference that's at some point, usually in
I'm
August.
thinking maybe August 17th or so.
What?
Could you guys come see us August 17th?
Yeah.
Because
There's official dates?
official dates. So
Wow.
the bus tour.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. I can't wait to see the sensors on your doors. Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be great. It's the best part of our center. It's the best thing ever.
I'll be up there taking pictures.
Our bus tour date is not firm yet. We still have to work out those details. But at the moment, we are planning to have the bus tour on Thursday night. And then the conference will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, August 18th, 19th, and 20th in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Performing Arts Center. It is a beautiful theater. They have a couple of theaters there. It's where I go to see all of the Broadway shows when we're here, when they're here. And I'll be there again in like a week for another show. And so it's kind of fun to get to see the back of the house stuff. And we have some pretty amazing things cooking, you guys.
Such as?
Bourbon.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We definitely will have plenty of bourbon. And then there's going to be, of course, some great parties. We have been working with Greg and Chelsea, the owners at Weightless in Louisville, and they are our co-hosts. And so we've been brainstorming. We met for drinks the other night. We've been brainstorming ideas for what our parties will look like. And
Sounds very difficult hanging out with those two, having drinks,
it's so awful,
planning parties.
God.
God.
Yes. So a lot of really, really cool stuff happening. We have, of course, pre-conference workshops that are going to be happening starting on, I believe it's going to be Wednesday the 16th is what we're tentatively scheduling for CPO. And then the Starter Center workshop will be back again. And something new this year, we're going to have a workshop specifically for centers who have been up and running for a while.
Oh, interesting.
Hit that button.
That means me. Wow, that's all of us.
That's me.
Yes. So it's going to be
F.
a full day workshop before the conference begins for anybody who would like to kind of go through a little business boot camp, so to speak. There's no specific name for the workshop itself yet. That will be coming
That's
soon.
an invitation.
That is an invitation.
Yeah. Business boot
Yes.
camp. That sounds good enough.
Yeah, because we've got the Starter Center workshop and we've got a Keep Your Center Running workshop.
Wait, what did you say, Drew?
In England, they let people name a boat, and the people chose Bodie McBoatface, and that's what won. So we're gonna leave it up to the people. Right. We could be in trouble.
Floaty McFloatface. I love it.
Floaty McFloatface.
Floaty
That's the name of the workshop.
McFloatface.
Register now. Yes. If you're not watching on YouTube, you need to watch on YouTube. You guys.
Oh my gosh. People are
surprised faces.
Okay, can we talk about that for just a second? YouTube?
Sure.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and I'd like to get feedback from people who are listening. I'm not sure that people really know that we're doing this and posting them to YouTube now. I think people think that we're only audio. Could that be possible?
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I own a Float Center store.
No, is that a surprise face?
This is why people don't watch the video.
I can hear you.
Somebody needs to screen click this. Yes.
Oh, he's back.
Good.
He's back.
Oh,
Darn.
What's your YouTube question, Gloria?
Look, I'm just curious because I haven't really start over. I'm curious to see if people know that our pod is actually video on YouTube. I know most people listen to it on audio, but I find looking at your mugs for, a couple of hours while we're doing this really entertaining, but that's maybe just me.
Let's all.
You should
I'm
see
also
what's going on.
entertained by everyone's mugs.
If you are listening and not watching, you are missing out.
You're missing
there is
so
some
much.
serious glamour going on between Kim and Drew. But yeah, so I'm just throwing it out there. Like, if you don't know that it's on video, you should watch it, especially this episode, because it's been flawless.
No edits, no cuts, seamless. Yeah. No glitches.
Did you guys know that YouTube is the second biggest search engine? Do you,
Yes.
do you search for stuff
Pretty
on
wild.
YouTube?
Yes.
I do. I
Yeah.
learn a lot on YouTube. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I learned anything.
You know,
is
I would
on
love to
YouTube.
do an episode on this because just last night we got a video download from this shoot that we just did for Float 60, and I was kind of cleaning up my YouTube channel, and there's just so much you can do with it. I don't know that we utilize it enough. So I said today to Leslie, my chief of staff, I said, I am going to be dedicated to really cleaning this up and putting content on. And there's so much you could do. So of course I do work for Google in full disclosure. So I mean, I just think that it's something that is very underutilized.
Olga, if you're listening to this episode, if we could do an episode on YouTube search.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I wasn't listening.
If you're that is how I picture all of our listeners. Huh? What was that? Anyway.
What did they say?
Yeah.
I think I had mentioned in a previous episode I'm starting a YouTube channel for my
that's right.
journey as I
Yes.
sell, and then when I start my next project. But I truly believe we all should be having our own YouTube channel and showing our personality and the day in and day outs of what we do. I don't do it, and I understand why we don't do it, but I think it would benefit float centers to do something like that, just as an FYI.
I need
That
to get
sounds painful.
Instagram
behind the
stories
scenes?
going first. Like content creation, it sounds so
Content-
easy.
yeah, it's
but
hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say don't do it. Like, running a business is hard, you guys. Jeez.
It is. For me, Drew, I as I was going through and cleaning stuff up last night, I was mortified seeing myself on video. I'm like, oh my gosh.
it's
So
hard.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm hiring good talent.
Do you want to know what hell on earth is? Is editing your own voice once a week and then watching yourself on YouTube every week. It is my own personal hell on earth. You don't know how much of a dork you are until you're watching yourself talk when you weren't thinking about what you look like. It's an unfortunate. It's
I'm
unfortunate.
pretty aware. I'm pretty aware of it.
All right.
So-
Were there any other news segments?
Well, we wanted to round the segment out with trends with a Z, in case anybody wants.
Oh, so it's hip and cool. We'll get more clicks that way. Okay.
You will.
So that's our thing. Trends with a Z.
and
Is that
it'll
no,
carry
is
over to
that-
YouTube. I'm going to put a
What?
graphic on the trends, and it'll flash over trends. So
We were looking for submissions for names for the FloatCon. What is it called?
Floaty McFloat face.
Floaty Well, we're also
Not
looking
making the
for
cut.
we're also looking for names for this episode as well. Like, what should we call a news segment? I think, yeah, is it Salty
we're-
Spot?
For the moment, but maybe somebody
Currently.
has a brilliant idea for what we can call that. And within the news, like within the actual news episode, there's the segment that is specific to trends too. So we need a name for trends with a Z, unless that Z is.
I mean, that one's sticking. Obviously, I'm going to be spending hours on the graphic of trends.
With a
Right.
giant Z.
I have a trend that that is trending. If we want to,
Is it trending?
Let's hear
and I
it.
did it recently. I went to a fire and ice room, and it's the first one that's like around me. And there was a sauna and a shower and a cold plunge. And I went in the sauna, and I got really hot and really sweaty. And as soon as I
Slow
opened the
down.
sauna door, I was freezing. And then I walked over to the cold plunge, and I stuck my toes in, and I was like, ooh, that's cold. And I went down to my waist, and that was about all I could muster up for the first like minute and a half. Then I got out and went back into the sauna, and I said, I'm not going to sweat this time. I'm just going to warm up. Got warm, then went back in up to my chest. I got in, I started saying, you can do this, Drew. And I have to admit, It was a lot of work. It felt really good. My body to its core felt like tingly. I don't know how to describe how I felt, but I felt good. And that night I sparred 10 3-minute rounds. My body felt good while doing it. I would do it again. And I see a lot of float centers adding that to their float center. And I've actually already even seen some controversy with how you clean them, right? So it's interesting because that is a new modality, and there's a lot of cold plunge and ice plunging talk these days. But I did it for the first time, and I have to say it was effort, but I definitely got better. I did 4 different dips and, you know, in and outs, and I got longer with each one. So I could see, like, getting used to it, but it was challenging, I thought. Have any of you ever done it?
Yes. We have that in 2 locations.
Yeah, full dip.
Yeah, full dip. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I did it. I think I talked about this when we had the guys from Cold Plunge on. I did it at a place in Wisconsin called the Kohler Spa, and that's where I got really interested in it. Now, I will admit I like cryotherapy better myself than doing cold plunge, but I do love the contrast. Like the hot and cold is awesome.
And what are you supposed to do first? Is what Drew did the standard?
That is the standard that I've heard. Yeah.
I was told 15 minutes in the sauna, then up to 5 in the cold plunge. Oh, and I would like to say, just recently, there was a guy from Salem, Mass, I believe, which is where the witches were, the old witch trials. He was doing a cold dip and disappeared and died. And I have twice I did it in the river over the summer and then in that cold plunge. I get these, like, I don't know how to describe it, but almost like a pinhole wah, wah, wah that was going on. And it made me a little nervous. And so I actually have been meaning to bring this up. Like, can people pass out from getting in there? Like, can it be so cold that they pass out?
Absolutely. I mean, it's shocking to your body.
Anywhere. Yes,
depending on the temperature. And especially,
like
especially if you're going from the hot environment of the sauna into the cold plunge first, and it stimulates your vagus nerve. There's actually a recommendation to try to get in up to your chin, so that you can stimulate the vagus nerve. But I don't know specifically if that sound is related to it. Are you guys familiar with that?
No.
Yeah. Should it be in tandem? So do you think like that's a safety issue and it should be done with 2 people?
I'm not going to speak on it. It seems like people are doing it, but at the same time, like that is completely.
It's new.
Having somebody there is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know the protocols for that particular piece, but I write content for a lot of my social media clients have cold plunge and contrast therapy and do both, and that's not something that I've heard, but I don't consider myself an expert on that by any means.
So back to trends.
Wait. So first, I love that getting so hot in the sauna means I can get into the cold plunge, because it's just jumping into an ice bath sucks. And so when you're super hot, it's like, oh, this is nice for half of a second before you're dying. At least you can get into it. But also, Drew, you were talking about doing some jiu-jitsu after your cold plunge. I'll have to see if I can find the research for it. But there is research that shows, I can't remember if it was testosterone or what it was that's reduced for muscle building. It's something that you release for muscle building that is reduced when you constrict your muscles through cold plunge therapy. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't, but it means that you should do it spaced away from when you do your workout. You definitely shouldn't do it post-workout, but I think even doing it right beforehand means that it's still in that restricted state, that you're not going to be building any mass or doing muscle recovery. I know it's all a night of shockers.
What?
So
I didn't
do
know
your
that.
cold plunge in the morning or on a different day, and then go in and roll or lift your weights or whatever.
Yeah,
as somebody who's old and trying to age gracefully,
I like it.
Healthily.
There's new stuff out there,
right?
What else is trending, Gloria?
Is anything trending?
Olga's in charge of telling us what's trending. I'm on a different.
Kind of a not fun thing that's trending is that I see a lot of products being unavailable or super high costs, things that are just like you're going along, you're reordering the regular same supplies from the same suppliers, and it's either going to take 2 months to deliver, or it's unavailable
right.
altogether,
I
or
am
it's twice the cost.
Still waiting for shower products. I placed an order December 20th.
Same.
And here we are in February, and my order still hasn't shipped. I was able to convince them. They found 1 gallon of unscented shampoo, 1 gallon of unscented body wash, and 1 gallon of unscented conditioner, and have sent that to us. I think it should arrive maybe this weekend. But we finally reached the point, and we rebottle, white label, and sell our shower products from Aromaland. And we had to pull everything off the shelf. We stopped doing refills, and I had a guest walk in the other night. I just happened to walk in with my daughter, and I walked in, and one of our members walks in, and she has a shopping bag with 12 bottles to refill because we do discounted refills. And I was just like, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
And it just felt so horrible, but I had to say no. And we're getting down to we're getting scary. I think all we have left at our center for at least 2 of those products is what's in our dispensers right now. And that's nerve wracking.
We are ordering so far ahead now because of that exact issue. Yeah. It's expensive and scary.
Kim, as soon as you posted about Aromaland being on back order, I went and I was horrified. Yeah, everything was at 0000, and I was like, okay, maybe I can get this. Maybe I can. And yeah, so we've been using Dr. Bronner's. Do you know why they're so low?
No, there's something in their supply chain. They don't even have the essential oils. Yeah, because we use a rosemary mint, and they don't even have the rosemary mint oil to put into it. And so they said it could still be a couple of weeks. And our challenge is I made these cute little decals that are on our dispensers that say rosemary mint shampoo, rosemary mint conditioner, whatever. So now I'm going to have to make a little sign that says, sorry, you don't get the rosemary mint today. But,
worse than
we'll
the
figure that out.
Tylenol shortage.
Right. Yeah.
That impacted us during flu season. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I understand why that had a disruption. I guess I don't understand the rosemary
The supply
mint
chains,
shortage.
man, they're so fragile. They gotta maintain those chains.
It is wild.
Yeah.
So their whole company is basically unavailable right now.
Can I ask you guys if you have seen a trends in autistic floaters coming in and finding benefit? I have had so many people coming in through word of mouth, self-describing as having autism or being diagnosed with autism, and saying that the reduction in sensory input is so wonderful for them floating. It has just happened so many times recently that I'm just curious if any of you have also noticed this trends.
I actually heard something was on TikTok. I didn't see it myself, but somebody had mentioned that before. But this wasn't super recent, but I wonder if that's driving it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say
we've had. Go ahead, Olga.
No, sorry. In the beginning, we had a lot of parents of autistic children actually come in and kind of investigate. We got hooked up with an organization, and so, but not recently.
Okay.
Dylan, are you talking high functioning people?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I definitely have a lot of what I suspect from my previous background in social work and juvenile probation. What I suspect are people who are on the spectrum.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
To me, it's clear as day when they come in, and just the social awkwardness that tips it off, or specific focuses. When they're focused on something that really doesn't matter, right? And it's don't let that ruin your day. But there'll be this really interesting, but they're some of my favorite people, I'm convinced, are on the spectrum, and they'll talk, and when there's ready to be an end in a conversation, and it's okay, have a good day, bye. But you're not saying those words. Right. There's those social cues of our conversation is ending. I'm going to go clean. And I have people who just stand there and stare and smile, right? And it's oh, how do I say I got to go clean, right? We could sit here and look at each other all day. But I do think also with the I know autism has increased over the last 30 years. So as that is happening, more and more people in that spectrum has become defined differently in more recent times. So more people will fall into that spectrum, and as they become adults, they might find this, and the quietness, the comfort of having that sensory reduction I've heard that as feedback. Like, oh, I love when I get in there and don't feel anything. The quietness of the room, the darkness of the room, just that desensitizing of their surroundings is feedback that I feel helps them in a beneficial way.
Kim, you're going to add something.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, we've had some guests and members who have shared that they are artistic people, but I wouldn't say that we've seen a trend, lately going up. So I am curious. I mean, TikTok trends information, the ADHD world has seen a huge spike. There's a huge shortage in ADHD medication, and part of that is being attributed to, TikTok,
also diabetic medicine,
all of that, right? All of those sorts of things. So I'm curious. I haven't seen it personally, but I don't know. Maybe there is something that's happening, and how mind blowing that a social media platform can have such huge impact on societal behavior. Like, it just,
in a positive way, ideally, or perhaps even rarely, is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just wild. So, I don't know, Dylan. I guess you have.
I have. I highly recommend asking why your floater is there. Not everybody wants to share, but saying, if you don't mind my asking, what brings you in here today, you will hear some really interesting answers. You hear a lot of the same ones over and over again, but that you would notice those trends. And what I really like is that people floating for autism are talking about it. There's no stigma to it. They're open with it, which is great for any condition. To be able to be open about it delights me. And as a place that we want our float center to feel like a safe place, like I feel good about that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing background stories.
Cool.
Any other trends with a Z, Olga, that you're wondering about?
Well, got another not fun one. I don't know if that's the one we want to end on.
Why don't we end on a positive note?
Yeah.
Is there any trend that's positive?
I can take part of where you're going to a positive, sort of.
All right. Okay.
Maybe.
Let's do it.
Well,
do you know where I'm
there's
going?
There's kind of maybe there's two pieces. So you start, and then I'll make sure we wrap it back and finish on a positive note.
Is the ending a positive ending?
I can make sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I was going to say rising cost of utilities. Can you spin that? Can you positively spin that?
I can bring us around. I can bring us around.
Okay.
But
Damn, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Are your utility costs increasing?
No, why not?
Yes, and Olga. You should see our water bill. But just real quick, our house flooded. Our January water bill is insane. It went through the roof. It, just looking at the graph is absolutely crazy. Okay, sorry, that had nothing to do with it. That's getting cut.
No,
I'm just kidding. We're going to
cost of
double it.
utilities. It's affecting everyone everywhere, not just float centers. And so mine, I want to say my gas and electric went up like 40%, like 40%. Yeah, I'm seeing numbers that are just absolutely insane. Like the first couple of months, I was like, I was like being that nosy. Like, did you guys leave a door open? Like, did you?
Right.
What happened? Did you leave all the appliances on? And no, it's incredible.
Higher, yeah.
When does it end?
Ours-
When does it end?
What's going to break? I don't understand how this is going to keep going. I'm very...
Yeah, I thought I left Soviet Russia, in 92, but here we are, nothing on the shelves and incredible costs of living that you can't support.
Wild.
We're going to be like selling shoes on the street just to, anyway. Kim, take it away.
Damn.
Good luck, Kim. We've left you a lot of runway. Can't fall over the floor. Anything can be better than that.
No.
Why don't we read the obituary section in the newspapers while we're at it, Olga?
Oh, geez. Yeah. But I've noticed, the same thing for us. So our utilities have gone up. For probably the entire last quarter of 2022, I drastically reduced our retail ordering. And we have a pretty decent little retail section at our center. We have over 200 or so items that we offer, if you include all the different varieties and scents of, all the stuff that we have. And, we've noticed like our wholesale prices on all of our retail items have gone up. And I have been holding off as long as possible to raise prices. And so that means our profit margins have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I looked at some products the other day and I realized like my profit margin was so tiny that I absolutely have to raise my prices if I'm going to continue to carry any of these. But you know, what's happening with that though is as those prices are going up and the wholesale price of something is going up, your profit margin is technically also going up. So the product that I used to have a $5 profit margin on, now I have a $7 profit margin if I raise my prices according to the MSRP. So there is something it's good.
Well, hot digging it down. All right, we got it. Woo. We solved it, everybody.
I feel so much better.
Right. I mean, it's going to be fine.
That's what you had in the bag? I mean, okay. Kim, I never, ever.
Have a good one.
Yep. Hey, I had to find something to throw in there.
We love it. We love it.
It is. Yeah.
Sunshine.
Just buy less, spend smart, and, you know, hunker down. Raise your prices. And don't feel bad about it because everything is going up.
So I'm
sure staff
stressed
turns
about
off
that.
the lights.
Yes, turn off your lights. And Olga, it sounds like we'll probably need to do a price increase episode at some point soon, so we can get that fixed.
On that note,
Again.
can we go around the horn? I want to just, again, refresh on how much everybody's regular price float is. I know we did this, but one more time.
75.
For 90 minutes, Dylan?
Yeah, 75 for 90. Good call.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Olga, what's yours?
60.
Yeah, I'm 75 for 60 as well.
New York, baby.
Fuck.
New Hampshire.
Whoa.
And we're 75 for 75, and it's 85 for 90.
Do not let Sandra listen to this episode. She wants to cut our float down from 90 minutes.
This is intriguing right here. We could have a whole additional. I know we talked about it before, but I'm about to raise mine, and so I'm a little bit. And what about your first time floats? Or do you do anything?
Gloria,
Regular.
Well, so my regular price float is 90, but
In all locations?
Yes, but we rarely charge that. Like we're always pushing. Our first time float is always 60 because it's 60 minutes.
So never go to your second float at 90. Get onto a program or package.
We always, so our set price is 90, but we're raising to 69 and 99. So 69 for first float and then 99 for regular price float and like 129 for a 90-minute float.
Hey now. Yes.
But again, we don't like. I have been known to go in and see, you know, when I'm looking at sales, if I see someone's paid a full price float, I will call them because
nice.
I don't like people to.
Right.
I want them to be able to come back more than the one time.
There's too much meat on this bone. We got to make this a full episode.
I know.
This
But
is a full.
But it is like an alignment with where we're going with all the skyrocketing prices. We have to be ready to pivot.
Responsive.
Yep. So with that, you've been watching Channel 9.
I thank you for joining Trends tonight on the Salty Spot. It's the most shocking episode you've ever seen.
Lots of surprises.
A lot of surprises. Wow. Wow, you can't write this stuff, man. You can't. This is reality.
Unscripted.
Unscripted. That's why you tune into the YouTube.
Who's going to get kicked off the island next episode? It's me.
Probably me.
It's Gloria's dog, let's be honest.
It's Gloria.
It's
always
me.
Gloria.
Lola.
Dog.
We're going to eat Lola to survive.
No, she's so sweet.
Kidding.
That's what I hear. That's why we're going to eat that one
There's
first.
not a lot of meat on those bones. Don't worry.
No,
Keep
it's
safe.
not.
Fluff. Oh my gosh, it has been delightful to see you guys. Olga, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I hope this does become a regular. Hopefully, I think we're going to go aim for monthly. Is that correct? We had no idea.
I did
Okay.
not commit to
Welcome to our monthly
As needed.
program, as needed program.
Rub salty spot as needed.
Okay. Oh, I never thought about it that way.
Ooh.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for being an awesome co-host on or news. What do you call it? News host. Whatever. Drew, Gloria, and Kim, thank you guys. As always, this is so much fun. I look forward to seeing you guys so much each and every week. Or 2 weeks if you know how we record this show. Yeah, shockingly good time. Kim, also extra thanks to you for taking show notes live each and every week. Truly appreciate that. And of course, a big shout out to our producer, Olga. Thank you. If you're listening, can I just say a big thank you for producing the show? It makes a really, really big difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And mega shout out to our sponsors, of course, both the FTA and Helmbot. Don't forget about Mindful Solutions. That's mindful with 2 L's .solutions. Check out what Kim can do for you. That's our official tagline. And I think we had an official tagline for Helmbot. I forget what that was. Grab life by the helm. Yeah, that's their tagline. And no, it's really not. And check out shop.artofthefloat if you want to check out some real sweet float gear t-shirts or digital goods. And check out our Patreon as well to help support the show. Patreon.com/Art of the Float to get float media, pictures, videos, other good stuff for your social media websites, newsletters. And I should mention this every episode from now on. Thanks, big thanks to Deepest Darkest for our theme song. And finally, if prices are getting you down, remember to shop smart, shop S-Mart. We will see you next week.